and welcome back to the NoScore Review Show. I'm your host, Nick Green. Today, I am joined yet again by Matt Schmidt. Welcome back, Matt.
Hello, Nick and audience.
It's like we've never left.
Right? It's like every week.
Every
Just coming
week.
back at it again.
Yep. Today, we are going to be doing a full, proper review for Skinamarink, the latest hot horror film to come out of 2022, technically. It came out last year, but it got a wide theatrical release last week.
Yeah, I think the 13th was the
Friday the 13th. The first
release.
Friday the 13th of I think 3 this year.
Whoa.
At least
Spooky.
2 or 3. Very spooky.
Spooky year.
So, yeah, we thought we would do a full review. Matt gave it a shout out like a few episodes ago, and then he also had it as his honorable mention of 2022 in the year in review episode.
True.
So,
both true statements.
Both true. Nothing but facts.
Nothing but facts here today.
And I also got to go see it again in the theater. So we'll be able to talk about that a bit more. So
yes,
Matt,
we will.
Do you want to go over yet again your thoughts on Skinamarink?
Well, maybe I will, instead of just talking about my straight thoughts, because I've done so a couple times already, and I think we can get into the nitty gritty a little bit before. But I just want to talk about first my sort of discovery of this film, because I think that like the nature of finding out about this movie, like very on through word of mouth, sort of lent to the experience in a way that I haven't had with many films before. Because I think, I mean, not to be too hipstery or anything here, but I caught wind of this film pretty early on. I think in either late November or early December, I think, is when I found out about it and watched it pretty soon after. And man, like, I don't know, there was something about just the word of mouth on this movie, just seeing everybody that I hold in really high regard on Letterboxd just started putting out these glowing reviews of this movie, and I'd never heard of it before, and it wasn't streaming anywhere, it wasn't even released yet, and I'm like, how are these people watching it?
What is this they're talking about?
Like it premiered at Fantastic Fest, I think, in
that sounds right.
Montreal back in the summer. And then I think through some other festivals, due to a technical error, it got the version, like the screener was leaked online. Someone was able to rip it. And then that sort of just started getting passed around. And although it's kind of shitty, I guess, when your film gets pirated, especially before theatrical release even.
Totally.
Which is a bummer. But I don't think that without that happening to create this buzz and this word of mouth, this movie would not have succeeded in being sort of like the underground cult phenomenon that it has become.
Well, it lent to the whole like spreading of the word of mouth of it, right? Like, because you can only go so far with like a few choice critics here and there on the internet getting like select screeners, like their word of or their recommendation will only go so far. But if like it's able to circle through the internet, then it's able to just spread like wildfire on its own.
It truly does. And it sort of like reminds me of like the VHS film series in a way, because it's all about like those cursed videotapes and everything that just have a mind of their own, and they do their own thing and all this. And Skinamarink definitely feels that way. So in the kind of finding it online where you're not supposed to watch it, and like not very many people can get their hands on it, and everybody's like, where do you go, where do you watch this movie? It sort of lends to the experience in a way. And I didn't go see it in theaters, but I'm sure it would have been a great experience, but
Yeah.
for me, I think I mentioned before, to me, this movie is like the very or example of the very few kinds of movies that you want to watch at home and just be completely isolated from everything.
Yeah.
So I really think that that home viewing experience and that early phenomenon of this movie sort of gaining legs on the internet in the way it has is unlike anything that I've seen happen in
Yeah.
I think maybe ever.
Hmm.
I don't know what else to really compare this to.
Yeah.
Um, and even though it did get pirated a bunch, I just checked before we started. This
I have it
movie
up.
has almost made $1 million at the box office and it released 3 days ago.
Yeah.
And this was
Yeah.
made for $15,000.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you do the math on that. Like the
Hmm.
returns on this thing have been incredible. And
Yeah.
if it was just released after its festival run, it would no way have gotten the amount of turnout that it did for
Yeah.
a movie this size with like it's just
If
unprecedented stuff.
I would I would wager, and I'll try to put my like hopes for the movie aside, but like I would wager that if it keeps building that word of mouth and that popularity, I could kind of see like Cineplex picking it up for like maybe not a huge wide release throughout Canada, but like maybe like a select few big theater like branches
Yeah.
in each like location.
Or like special event screenings or something,
Exactly. Yeah.
for sure.
Um yeah, the word of mouth had to have like done something because the when I went to the theater, it was sold out. Like they announced it over the PA, like this is a sold out screening. So
That's
like
pretty
if there's
cool.
an empty seat next to you, like move over. So yeah, it was very cool to see. When I walked up to the theater, there was a line. I mean, this like does make sense for the Rio itself because there's not really a lobby, but
Yeah,
the line was like halfway, like 16 blocks down the street. It was insane.
that's wild.
So yeah,
I
it.
usually, whenever I go to the Rio, it's generally not sold out, even for big movies that they do
Mhm.
returning screenings for. Like seeing stuff like I saw Dazed and Confused there. I saw What We Do in the Shadows. I've seen several older released films that have huge cult followings that you would think
Mhm.
like, oh, if this goes to theaters, it's going to fill up. But it never does. So the fact that this movie was able to fill that theater on opening night, I guess, makes a difference. But still, the fact that so many people knew about this movie by the time it came out is
Well, I
wild to
wanted
me.
to like potentially. Sorry, I inhaled some tea.
I will take a tea
Good God.
break as well at this
Um.
moment while you're coughing it out.
Uh. I wonder, because like, does the Rio get many like new releases? Because I know it's like gotten screenings for like Triangle of Sadness and EO and like a few of those films, but like that isn't where it has premiered. So I'm wondering if Skinamarink is like one of those very few films that the Rio gets that it's like a premiere there, right?
That makes sense. I think for smaller genre films, the Rio really has that market cornered.
Totally. Yeah.
So stuff like that, other things that you might see, like other streaming service originals uh, in the horror vein, I could
Oh,
see
right.
definitely playing
I wonder,
at
do
the
you know if
Rio.
Mad God got a Rio release or even a
I
theater
don't
release
know.
at all?
I have no clue. Actually, I would see that
Me
for
too.
sure.
Yeah. We should just bring a USB up to the counter and be like, "Hey,
Yeah.
can we
Excuse
watch
me.
this?"
Can you plug this into the projector, please?
Just real quick, please. Um yeah, that was actually my first time at the Rio was
Oh
for
wow.
Skinamarink. Um so a bit of a surprise, and like also I'm going to twist it into a question for you, Matt. Do they usually advertise adult, like old adult films for
Yes.
like Okay, for late night screenings or something? Is that all the time, or is that specifically for, like, late night
I
type?
think it's probably for late night stuff,
Okay.
but I know
'Cause
they do a lot of that kind of stuff and like burlesque shows
right.
as well. Um,
I had
but
seen, like, advertisements for burlesque shows and stuff, like, when I was buying tickets and whatnot, but, like, there was full-on genitalia up on
oh,
the silver
really?
screen, and oh, yeah,
Okay.
man. Male and female
I have not
genitalia,
seen
and,
that before there,
yeah,
but
it was
now I am intrigued.
something special, let me tell you.
Wow.
Everybody was hooting and hollering
I
while,
bet it's
yeah.
not something you see very often.
No, not
It's like the
much
shock
less with
that
a crowd that size.
yeah, it's like the shock that I had going to the VIP theater the first time, and it was like they were advertising alcohol and vapes and
Oh,
all that
yeah.
stuff before the movie, and I'm like, are they allowed to do
Where
this?
am I?
Oh wait, there's no kids here, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's definitely a different vibe for sure, and I think, something I was not, like, ready for at all really, because like, you could that dude was vaping up next to me, there's the smell of alcohol throughout
Oh
the
yeah,
auditorium.
I've
I was
had
like,
people
"Wow, this
just
is"
light up joints right
yeah,
next to me at the Rio. It's a
yeah.
lawless land over there,
Sure is.
truly. I don't know how it
Um,
hasn't burnt down at this point, honestly. It's like a tinderbox.
no kidding. Getting back to Skinamarink a little bit
Yeah,
more.
a little tangent. We're like, oh, this will be a short one, and then we
Yeah,
spend like 15 minutes not even talking about the movie.
yeah. Um, yeah, the theatrical experience was fantastic. I thought it. I think I completely agree with you wholeheartedly that I think the ideal setting for this film is like curled up under the covers at like 2 a.m. on your own. But uh, the the advantages that a theater showing for any movie really uh, like presented itself there, where like you got to experience that like feeling of tension throughout the room with the whole
Mm,
crowd as
yeah,
things are getting more intense, and then as soon as there was a jump scare we got that big release moment with everybody. It was fantastic. And then I was telling you off screen that like there was a few people getting up in between the show. I
right.
don't know if that was because of bathroom breaks or if they wanted to like avoid some jump scares. But hey, to each their own.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
curious as to how many people in the audience had already seen the movie.
Me
Like, what
too. Yeah.
percentage?
Hmm. Yeah,
I feel
because
like a
I
good chunk would.
probably I think that type of crowd too, because it's like more like diehard film fans, right?
Yeah.
So I imagine probably anywhere from like half to at least a third, I would say, at minimum. Um, a slight quick tangent just for our sakes. Piero was supposed to be on the show for
Damn
this. He
Piero.
couldn't make it because of Cake Week, which is
Cake
understandable.
Week. Yeah.
Classic Cake Week.
Classic Cake Week.
But like, funny
That's
enough,
just a little joke for us that
yeah,
nobody else
that's
gets.
just for us. That's okay. Um, like weirdly enough, in the sold out crowd, he got there like 45 minutes after me, and he ended up sitting like 3 seats away from me in the exact same row. It was so weird. I like was
Wow.
just looking around waiting for the show to start, and then I'm like, oh hey.
That's funny. Wow, I wasn't expecting Piero to actually go. He said that it might be too much to go see it in quick succession. But
I
nice.
wonder, because he went with like 6 of his friends apparently, so I wonder if
Oh,
they like peer pressured him back into it.
or maybe he peer pressured them into it,
Yeah, maybe.
being
Maybe he
like, "You
was just
guys
more
got to
comfortable
see."
going. Yeah, totally. But yeah, the theater experience was great. I also actually completely forgot about a few of the jump scares, so I was just right there with the crowd of being like
Right.
on the edge of my seat. Like the basement scene with his
Oh,
sister. Holy shit, I
oh my
completely forgot
God.
about that. And I'm like, what is happening? I like there was a couple times I'm like, is this a different cut? I don't remember this at all.
That's
Um
fair.
so
I
that
mean,
was a
maybe it is. Maybe every time you watch it, it's different.
oh god, could you imagine? That's really experimental if that's the
Yeah.
case. Um, Speaking of which, there were a few audible like WTFs in the crowd as soon as it rolled credits. The dude right next to me, he was like, "What the fuck was that?"
Yeah.
So,
It's been very polarizing, especially now that it's gotten to wide release. I've
mhm,
noticed there's a lot more like scathing reviews of
mhm,
this film that have been popping up on Letterboxd and everything. And
yep,
I think that's also just what you're going to get when a movie that is this esoteric gets a wider release and opens to the public that
yeah,
normally would not like, because this is, all marketing and word of mouth aside, this kind of thing is something that you would have to seek out in order to find. Like
mhm,
in a couple years, the only people that are going to watch this are going to be the people that are the true fans
yeah,
that are going to be
diehard horror
seeking this
fans.
kind of stuff out.
Yeah,
Once the media TikTok buzz sort of dies down and the casual viewers are like, "Oh, this is a new horror movie that everybody's talking about and is saying good. Maybe I should go. I wonder if it'll be like Get Out." And then they just
oh
totally
god,
get blindsided by this thing. And of course,
yeah,
it's not going to vibe with a lot of people because it's not meant to. Uh,
yeah,
but
it's
for anybody that's like hasn't seen this movie and is looking at the ratings and being like, I don't know if that's for me, uh, or if you think like it's bad because of the ratings that people are giving it, I don't know. You gotta
oh wow,
really decide for yourself if you think this is something that interests you, rather than just seeing it because other people are saying that it's
yeah.
good.
And I would say, like, I mean, with any film, really, try and go in with as open a mind as possible. Um, it could help someone going in blind. Well, I guess not blind, but someone going in knowing that it's way more experimental and it's very like uh, off the beaten path in terms of like conventional filmmaking,
Hmm.
of which there is very little in this film, if any. Um, So yeah, I just looked at the review scores. 5.3 on IMDb. That's insane.
Wow, that's actually way higher than I thought it would be.
Oh, really? That's lower than I thought. I mean, like Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic are a bit closer with like 75%.
Yeah, I guess. Well, when you look at it from a critical standpoint, it'll yield more than the average audience member.
That's true.
But I guess maybe IMDb might be leveling it out. I wonder, can you open up the actual rating breakdown and see like if there's a huge disparity of tens and ones?
For IMDb,
Yeah, because I think you can look and see a breakdown of how many people voted for each
user
star.
reviews. Yeah, how can we do that? Sort by review
Uh,
rating.
we're just pausing here, audience, to look
Just
up
real
some
quick.
facts.
Oh, actually, so let's do 10 stars, 8 reviews, 9 stars,
Wait,
11.
I found it. Um,
Oh, this is
on
user review.
so on Skinamarink, it has the rating breakdown. So 9% of people, or almost 10%, gave it a 10. It's pretty even across as a normal
Wow.
curve. 10% gave it a 10, 7.5 gave it 9, and then like hovering around the 11, 12 mark in 8 to 6. And then you go down a little bit. There's only about 5 or 7% of people were doing 4 and 3 and 2, but then
Mhm.
almost 18% of people gave it a 1 star.
Yeah.
So it's most people are leaning to the medium high to very high, and then there's a lot of people that really dislike this movie.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what to do with that information other than, yeah, a lot of people really don't like it, but a lot of people really like it. So
Hmm.
take that into account when you're deciding whether to watch this movie, I guess.
Yeah.
Which part of the demographic will you be in?
Find out now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it was kind of going back to like the theater experience real quick. It was also just really fun listening to the crowd in like the few moments I did remember how they were going to play out. So it
Right.
was nice kind of just listening to them kind of experience the film as I did when I first saw it. Um, so that was
Well,
a
for
cool
me,
experience.
watching it the first time, I was like, "What the fuck? What is that? Is that a face? Ah, what the fuck? Holy shit! Don't go in there! Ah!"
Yeah.
Which would be a little annoying, I think, if I did that in a theater full of
Yeah,
people. But I don't know if I'd be able to
probably.
stop myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen a few reviews that are like you absolutely have to like find the right setting. You don't want to like watch this with friends, otherwise you're just going to be like pointing shit out to each other and like just like
Yeah,
commenting on stuff half the time. You want to like to get the full trauma experience, you want to just like let it wash over you and just have to like be forced to sit with it, right?
yeah, you got to really fully immerse yourself in this kind of thing because
Yeah.
it can be so, especially in like the long takes of static shots of ceilings and walls and everything. It could be
Hmm.
very tempting, I'm sure, to go grab your phone and just look, especially when it gets to the tense parts and you're like, you want to look away, but you need
Yeah.
to remove that potential distraction from you and
Hmm.
just force yourself to sort of be in it. Because it's also, it's not a long movie, it's 100 minutes.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
not too bad.
most
I will
people will
say,
sit on their phone and scroll TikTok for 3 hours. So there's no reason why you can't sit on your computer and watch something for half that time.
yeah. Well, it's about the effort when it comes to that too, right? Like 3 hours of just browsing mindlessly through TikTok doesn't feel nearly as exerting as sitting down and watching a 100-minute movie, right?
Especially a movie like this that really
Yeah.
takes a toll on your soul.
Yeah. Exactly. Um, I will say with my second time around, I think it like it is a short film, but I did find the last act to start dragging a little bit, especially once it starts getting um a little more like what's the word? Uh not symbolic, but like just gets very
Gets more
out there.
ambiguous and like
Yeah.
metaphorical.
Yeah, cuz then it's not as what I found was like it didn't set up as much sequential shots of like where you like are with the kids and then they'll like go upstairs and they'll go into a room, you'll follow them in the room and then
Yeah.
they'll come back out and then go back downstairs. It was more like this is a shot in a closet where they're flashing a light on and off, and then this is a shot of a doorway in this weird ass parallel dimension thing, and then you like cut back to this like shot of the hallway where there's blood splattering like back and forth and like backwards and forwards, and then you go back to that hallway shot of like the toys in the house, right? So it gets not messy, it's just like it gets way more out there towards the end, so that I for sure could see you with like a more casual moviegoer would start getting like, okay, what's going on? How is this going to wrap up soon? How is this going to even wrap up?
Yeah.
Um, but I still very much enjoyed it. The whole feeling that gave me was still awful, but like in the best way, right? Like it was like,
Yeah.
oh my god, this is terrifying. This is I don't want to be here anymore, right? So, um,
Yeah, I definitely think the last third, I would have to watch it again to really
have you still only
wrap.
watched it the one time, or have you seen it twice?
Yeah, I watched it once. I did watch the short film though, just earlier today, that it's
Ooh, the
sort of
short film.
based on.
Ooh,
It's very different. We can get into that in a little bit.
okay.
But yeah, the last third of this, or even not, I guess third, but maybe quarter of how it's broken up is they try and stack all of the sort of meaning behind it. Like you do a lot of build up, and then you think that you're going to get some kind of catharsis to everything, but
Hmm.
then they swap. They like flip the script on you a little bit, and they give you more questions. And it's like, okay, here's all of this imagery and all of these sort of surreal little shots that
Yeah.
are, like you said, they're not really in a sequence, but they're just in an order, and just like you could change the order of so many of these shots, and I don't know how much it would change, but
That's true.
every shot is like its own piece of information that's just in itself.
Hmm.
And it really tells the audience, or it makes the audience have to figure it out on their own.
Hmm.
And yeah, it won't give you the answers at the end. It really makes you have to go back and you have to think about it, and you have to be like, okay, what did this shot mean, and what did this, like, what did the blood mean, what did the stretchy room mean,
Hmm.
what was the point of
What is that dude's
like,
name at the end? God damn it.
what is it, um like, what was about the person that was disappearing, where did the parents go, what was happening this whole fucking time. And it, by the end of it, you're expecting like a reward, I guess, and you don't
Or
get
an
it.
yeah, yeah.
And in a way, I think that's sort of, that's the point, obviously. But it really works in the favor of the feeling that this movie gives you, of
Yeah.
just, it
That
leaves you
unknown,
hanging.
right?
And
Yeah.
because of all of those unanswered questions, you keep thinking about it afterwards,
Yeah.
and it's stuck in your mind. And then the last words, I mean, I don't know if we're going spoiler territory right away, if we
Well,
want
I mean,
to.
we're 27 minutes in. I think we're safe to go.
Uh,
We'll go
yeah.
full spoilers now.
Okay,
I
full
think we
spoilers ahead. But the last words basically are like, go to sleep. And
right.
and then the movie ends, and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
And chances are you're probably watching this late at night, and then you're
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm gonna go to
Yeah.
sleep now.
Yeah.
Because that was me. I think we stopped watching it at like 12:30 at night, and we're like, well, fuck, we need to watch some sitcom or something
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Funny. Um yeah, I don't know how much we want to get into like uh how we interpreted some things. But like one thing that actually just comes to mind, that scene, I don't know if you remember towards the end. It's in with I think it's within that like I guess montage, if you will, of different sequences. Um, the like mom is back on the bed, and
Right.
like it sounds like she like wakes up or like breathes like really like quickly. That's how I like interpreted it
Mm,
anyway. It
okay.
seemed like she like came back to whatever realm that was or whatever, if she was like possessed earlier on or something, and she like woke up and then she started getting tormented by the entity or whatever towards the end too, like, and that might have been her blood that was going back and forth in the hallway.
Okay. So
um
that the person that was disappearing was the mom. Because when I first watched it, I thought it was the sister, but I don't remember very clearly. Was it the mom that sort of faded away into nothing?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that was after um that sequence. Like the fading away moment was after, because there's another shot of her on her side of the bed, because in the shot of where she like fades away, it's on the dad's side.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. um which that was also very interesting. I also like or the shot back in the living room, and Kevin's like, Kaylee, can we watch something happy now?
Yeah, right. And instead they just watch that creepy ass public domain cartoon.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Ugh.
actually, touching on the two kids, um I kind of touched on it in my second review for the movie on Letterboxd. I love how much you are able to empathize with them, with like how much like
You never see their
minimalism.
face
You never see their
except
face.
once.
Like there's very like almost no dialogue at all. But like the dialogue between them is like very very effective. Like the
Hmm.
like such simple like conversation of them just saying love you to each other, like that was like really sweet, right? And
Oh,
then the comedic moment that's like immediately follows that jump scare of Kevin like being like, I was too scared to go to the bathroom or whatever, right? It's like those few moments sold me on like the relationship between the the two
right.
kids. So that really helped in me like feeling and fearing for them in this whole nightmare scenario. Um, so yeah, that was probably one of my favorite parts. Uh, yeah,
Yes, I mean there's so many parts to talk about and say
yeah,
like, oh, this part's so good. This part's so good. Um getting back a little bit to like the interpretation of things. Like what do you think the overall the premise is? Like how would you describe the experience that these kids are going in? Cuz I heard some theories that was like because at the beginning, one of the kids, I think Kevin, falls down the stairs, right? And then he
right,
gets
yeah,
taken to the
to the
hospital.
hospital, yeah.
And so some people are like theorizing that maybe he's in a coma and that's what the day counter is as
Mm,
well. And he's just like, he's locked in this eternal sleep and he can't leave.
ooh,
But
I
then
like
you're
that
like, well,
theory.
why is Kaylee here with him as well? Um,
Yeah, why is she experiencing
yeah.
nightmarish things too?
And like, why do the parents disappear? Why do the doors and the windows disappear? I mean, maybe there is no meaning behind it at all. Maybe it is purely just nightmare fuel because it is based on essentially a collection of people's nightmares that they've commented. Because his original YouTube channel was like people would comment the dreams that they've had, and then
Hmm.
he would recreate them.
Whoa.
And that's how the first short film sort of came to be.
Hmm.
Heck was just based on a ton of people's accounts and correlating things that happen to be similar between a lot of different people and also himself with like a sleepwalking thing that he had when he was younger. And he says the story is basically like him and his sister.
Hmm.
And in the short film, there's like a scene when the boy, I mean, there is only one person in the short film.
Hmm.
He says to his mom, who hasn't been there for like, I don't know, 100 days or so at this point, um, he says something like, sorry for getting cancer. So
Whoa.
the child, but then he's like, but I'm all better now. It's okay. So I'm like, maybe this is sort of a purgatory type situation.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. I wonder if that's something that sort of carries over into the feature as well. I don't know.
Right.
And the short film is almost entirely done in handheld, which is a different um, stylistic decision. I
Hmm.
definitely like Skinamarink's shooting style a lot better. I
Right.
think the still camera and static sets all work in the sort of omniscient, dreamlike feel, whereas in the short it feels like you're sort of seeing it from the perspective of like from the eyes of the person, but
Right.
it also still feels like they're just walking around with a camcorder in their house at the same time, and it has more of a, I don't know, a jumpy found footagey type feel
Hmm.
compared to the feature. Yeah, I don't know. It's good still. It's got some creepy shit in it, and I was covering my eyes at the end because I was like, "Oh God, if you open this goddamn door and there's a jump scare here, I'm gonna be mad." But they do the same kind of thing in the short, and they leave you with questions, but they also give you some spooky stuff to look at. But
Very
on
cool.
YouTube, at least, which you can find it on Kyle Edward Ball's YouTube channel. It's up for
Hmm.
free along with a bunch of other stuff. The YouTube compression just absolutely destroys
Mm,
the thing, and since it's
dang.
so dark and gradient,
Yeah.
it's just like you're seeing just like three giant blocks of single color, and you
Uh,
don't see any of the grain because it's just so compressed. So
yeah.
I really hope that when Skinamarink makes its way to Blu-ray, which it will, and I
Yes.
will buy that in a heartbeat. I really hope they include heck in the special features because I
That would
want to
be
see
cool.
it in HD in non-compressed form.
Yeah, that would be really sweet. Um, I wonder if it would make any difference. Obviously, you would have to get like a YouTube Premium subscription because you can download videos through that
Oh, that's
service.
true. I have that
So
actually, so maybe I should give it a try.
yeah, yeah, see if that works maybe. Um, yeah, I'm very happy to hear that Kyle's working to get a physical release because I too would like to add that to the shelf. Um, I mean, like it was like in both of our top five or our, yeah, I guess top fives for last year alone.
It was my number two.
Yeah, you're number two. So it's definitely something I want to revisit again and again. Um, and just talking about the camera work as well, I appreciate the like POV shots he does incorporate. There's like only a few throughout the film because you're always like stuck to those shots of different hallways and corridors and like ceilings and whatnot. But the few times he brings out the POV camera work is like when it matters most, and then you're like shoved into the perspective of the kid
Yeah.
experiencing all of this awful shit that's happening, right? Um, so it was very well done.
Yeah, it really stands out. Like I love when you really feel the handheld and
Hmm.
you're not just being bombarded with it the whole time.
Yeah,
It really is a good way to utilize that contrast in style.
and it's also kind of a evolution of found footage in a way where like you're still kind of taking advantage of those like really raw camera angles, and especially with the way he edits it with the amount of grain in the film too, it gives that like very visceral
Yeah.
like real feel to it. But then he's also able to um take away what weaknesses found footage has by keeping those static camera angles and instead basically making those uh frames like the perspective of the kids, right? Not just in the
Yeah.
POV shots, but like throughout the whole film. What
I kind
else?
of want to rip this onto like a VHS tape or something.
Yeah.
I feel
I'm
like that
surprised you
is
haven't already from the way you've
that's
been talking about it.
yeah, it's that's like the prime medium I think to watch this
Yeah.
on truly. Because then you get some real grain thrown in on top of the fake grain, and it
Hmm.
just perfect. And then
Just
you can.
simply just learn how to burn movies onto VHS tapes.
I'm in the process of
And then,
doing that right now,
well,
honestly.
there you
So
go.
it's happening.
All right. Perfect. Well, do you want to touch on anything else, Matt, before we start wrapping things up?
I mean, honestly, if you're into like the backrooms kind of stuff, and you like all of that creepy
Analog
shit,
horror.
analog horror, if you like stuff like Outlast
Hmm.
and all that kind of those spooky video games that are more like a mood piece than anything, because that's really what this is. It's a mood piece. It puts you in a state of mind, and it
Yeah.
makes you feel a certain way for a prolonged amount of time. You're not. It's not as much of a story in the traditional sense as a lot of people might be expecting going into this,
Yeah.
but it'll make you feel a certain kind of way, and you'll think about it for a long time. So if you want to feel something that you maybe haven't felt before, or maybe something that you haven't felt since you were a child, check out Skinamarink.
And I completely agree. Matt, where can the people find you?
They can find me on Letterboxd at Wisdom Nugget, or if you search just for my name, Matt Schmidt, I will be there. And then you
He'll be
can
there. I'll
follow me
meet you
other
there.
places from there.
Excellent. Do you have any other podcast episodes that you've been on lately?
No, haven't done anything in the last little while. It's been pretty
Okay.
slow, since Oscar season is, there's not much going out right now, and with
Right.
holidays and everything. So uh, maybe I'll plug one of those next time once I come in, but
Sounds good.
nothing for now.
That's okay. And you can find me right here wherever you're listening to or watching this episode of the NoScore Review Show. I am all over social media at NoScore or at NoScore Reviews. And if you like video game Let's Play content, I have my YouTube channel at NoScore Plays. Currently, there's just been a myriad of indie games going up right now. I've been also re-uploading some of my first Let's Play videos just to have everything kind of consolidated onto the video game channel. But if you are into spooky games, I'm hoping to do a playthrough of the Dead Space remake on my Let's Play channel. So keep an eye out for
Wow.
that if that interests you. Otherwise, keep it locked here on the NoScore outlets, podcast, your favorite podcast listening service, and youtube.com. Thank you so much for watching. Matt, thanks again,
My
as
pleasure.
always, for joining me. And we'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.